Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, back again with one of our pandemic projects here. This one is a Daiwa Magforce. It's the 1500F. I guess it's got a HT in there. This one's in nice shape. This one came as part of a purchase of a large group of reels that I bought from an individual selling on Facebook Marketplace. It's in pretty good condition. It's nice and clean. It turns free and easy. Everything seems to be working on it. So we're just going to take it apart. We'll show you how this reel is made, and if you have it, how to tune it up. So this one kind of was sitting in my project pile, and got an email from Matt who said that he had one of these and was running into a little bit of trouble with it. So I thought as I was taking it apart that I would do a video on it as well. So if you have a baitcaster like this, the baitcasters tend to kind of follow a fairly similar register. The mystery is usually in how you get the side cases off, not so much in what's going on underneath. And most of the manufacturers follow a similar kind of a layout. So although it may not apply specifically to your particular Daiwa or Shimano or other, then if you want to follow along and get courageous and do your own, I would recommend a couple of things. That you go out and get the schematic for the reel. That'll kind of tell you how the lineups differ a little bit, and take pictures along the way so that you know if you get stuck how to go back and reference that. So this reel, I like to take the external pieces off first. That included the nut cap, the tie down screw, the handle nut, and now we're taking off the star adjuster. Now we've got two things on this. We got 4 screws here. 2 of these screws hold the side plate on over here. Like I mentioned, there's 100 different ways that these side plates come off. You just have to figure out which one it is. This happens to come off by screws. Sometimes there's a lock and you push up. Sometimes there's a button that you push in. In this case, these 2 big screws here, one on top, one on bottom, the ones with the finger grips, are holding that side plate on. So we're going to take those off right now. While we're at it, we can talk a little bit about it. So you have a couple of things. You have a flip override here where you can just go to fast cast. You have your traditional push down button here, which is tripped for free spool. You have a Magforce over here which uses the magnets to control the speed of the spool. And you have a little override for the anti-reverse here. So a couple of different things technologically in this reel. Nice reel, generally speaking, all around. So this should just come off now. There you go. Here's your magnetics are in this little ring here. And this is the guide that runs up against it, the metal. As you increase the force over here on the side, you increase the magnetic pull on this to slow. As you decrease, you free it up a little bit to spin faster. So that's the whole idea behind the Magforce. And take that side plate. Do what we always do is I have a little milk container's bottom that I use as a parts tray, and we're going to put our pieces and parts in there. So I'm going to pull the spool out at this time too. I'm just going to make sure, as a general service, just want to make sure that these are all cleaned. And you can tell I've got some kind of muddy looking grease there, so we're just going to use a paper towel first. I should be able to get it off with a paper towel. If you didn't, if it was particularly tough to do that, then you could use a little penetrating oil maybe to loosen it up. Use a cotton swab, get in those crevices there, make sure that's nice and clean, otherwise the magnetics are not going to work on this one. There's a little bit on the back here, that grease, so we'll just use the cotton swab to get in there. Cotton swabs are good. They get into some of those little tight spots that maybe you can't get in with a paper towel or the like. And we're just going to leave that as clean. This reel overall is pretty clean by itself. Here's those 2 screws that I was talking about. Now if we take these 2 screws off, the 2 silver screws, and you're either going to need a small tipped Phillips head, or you could use micro screwdrivers. Either one would work. I think I can probably get away with the Phillips head here. We'll see. If not, I'll go over to the micros. Yeah, we can get away with that. There's 2 of these. They go into the case and they hold the springs for the yoke, but they also hold the case to the body. So you want to take that off. I lay those two screws right on my desk because I want to make sure that those screws are the same length. And these are the same length. You can see them on the board here. If they weren't the same length, then what you would do is you would note which one came out of which hole and make sure that it went back the same way on reinstall. Okay, those two came off. We should be able to get this off now. There we go. Yep, a little spacer came out. There's a couple of things going on with this reel. So you have a ball bearing. That's the top one. Then you have a spacer. Put that in there. And then you have two shim washers that go on to the main gear. Those are tension washers for the star adjuster to make it better or worse. And then you have these two springs. They are the yoke springs. And you should be able to pull the main gear and the anti-reverse dog. This is the anti-reverse dog here. Note the orientation of that. This is the override for that anti-reverse. So as you flip it, it's going to pull the back end of this off the plate that it rides on, and it's going to allow this reel to go front and back. When you bring that in, it's not going to allow it to go backwards. It's going to be the anti-reverse. So that comes through the case, right? So I'm going to take the main gear off then. Main gear's got a little indented click rotor or rotor, if you will. That's where the anti-reverse dog rides. It's got a little shim washer under that. I'm just going to kind of reverse it the way it goes back in. It's got your main gear. And it's got these two tension washers that are concave. And you can put them in just about any way. You can nest them. You can put them in opposite. Or you can put them in back to back or face to face, which is what I tend to do. And then we should only have the one washer here, I'm thinking. I'll just use a little. There we go. Oh, we got two. Good. We should have two. And I want to get in here and clean these up. Oh, that one I think has been put on backwards. That makes sense. It's on upside down. So whoever was in here doing this the last time put that in backwards when they were doing the servicing on the reel. This has got like a felt or a leather washer. It's plenty oiled on that. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that goes in and then the metal one goes in. That only just makes sense to press between the two. Okay, we've got a lot of that muddied grease there, so let's take the yoke and the spool gear out. You can see a little bit more now about how this reel works. When you push down on this lever, it's going to push this tooth over. That tooth is going to be this click rotor here. It's going to intersect there, and when you flip your, turn your reel, it's going to push all of that back up and release. Well, got too many things going on here, but that's how it's going to release. Okay, so let's just continue with taking that off. Take that anti-reverse dog off. I'm not going to take the rest of it off, but I am going to clean it up. These could go into the parts tray, but right after the cleanup, I'm just going to reassemble. So let's just kind of go grab that. I'm just going to give it a good flushing with that WD-40, and then I'm going to come in with my cotton swab here and get all that dried grease off. Now, if any of these parts were broken, if you noticed any wear in them other than just they've got some surface grease on it, then certainly you want to take them off. You could take off the hold for this by removing the screw here, and you can remove the springs, which are going to release these other pieces. The spring here will release this dog. The spring up here will release that assembly. So if you need to, go ahead, but as a general maintenance, you just want to make sure that it's clean, that it's oiled, and that it's put back so that it can get going again. This is the little arm with the spring for the override of the anti-reverse dog. That one just came out of here. trying to find the bottom. It's going to go this way. So that rides there, and the other piece rides in the hole down here. Then it all just kind of goes over the top. That's how that spring loads, and you're going to be moving it this way and back and forth there, and that's why it jumped, because there's tension on that spring. Okay, so we've kind of cleaned that up. These are clean. So we can go ahead now and we can put the click ratchet back in. There's an oval on that, so you want to make sure that the oval is sitting proper. And when you go to put the click ratchet back in, it's a good idea to just take this dog and install it that time. There's no oil or grease that goes on this. You need to get the click ratchet between the fork. It's going to sit like that because this tab is going to ride in the hollow over here on the override. So you're going to come down the main gear. And you're going to rotate that main gear so that you can put the stud from the dog in alignment, which is there. And then you can see how this nests in the hollow of that override switch. So that's how you set the click rotor. Next up then I'm going to put the hard washer in. And then before I go and put the main gear on, I'm going to clean the yoke. I'm going to put some grease onto the yoke so that the spool gear can ride well in its track. And grab that spool gear. So these are offsets. You want to just, you'll notice one leg is shorter than the other. You just want to make sure you know which side is which. Because the spool gear, the short side of that faces outward to accept the shoulders of the spool. And you want to get some grease onto the spool before you do that, spool gear. Okay, so we're set there now. And this little prong here, this little ramp is what's going to push everything up, and the screws are going to, the springs are going to hold against the case and push that down when this releases. Next up then is the main gear. We took care of that washer underneath there. It had plenty of lubrication on it. It was a leather washer, so it should get lube, either a Cal's Universal Drag Grease, or in this case it was flooded with oil, and that's okay as well. I'm going to just put some grease onto a few sides of that. You don't need to overload, nor do you need to make sure that the grease is in every spot. That will spread out evenly over time. Okay, and then this is a plastic drive, and we've had conversations over time. Plastic by its nature is self-lubricating. You don't need to put any grease on there. I did put grease on here so that the metal on metal works there, and that will work some grease over to this side, so not to worry terribly there. Okay, so we're going to grab one of those tension washers next. Grab the second tension washer. It's going to get nested. And I guess the fellow who's doing this one before didn't realize that the hard washer belonged up top. So I imagine that the drag on this one was underperforming as basis against what it should. Then we have the two yoke springs next. One goes on each of those posts. And then we still got a little bit of junk, and we have that bearing in there that we want to take care of. So we're going to use the cotton swab to clean that up. In this case, I may just use that paper towel, get some of that surface off of there. This is an open and an exposed bearing. You want to make sure that it's working properly, so grab a screwdriver, is a big one, but that's probably what you need, and you want to turn it to make sure that it's turning properly, which it is. You can also grab a little pick, kind of run it around the inside. Just pushed it out. If you want to do it that way, you can hold it between your fingers here. It doesn't hurt to take some penetrating oil. Just let it sit. do the same. Of course, what I got now is oil all over the place, so. And you can hold this and kind of race it around that way as well. Working it in. That's kind of what I'm doing now. You can hit it again if you like. This one's a little tight, so we might as well take our time, and for the camera I'll just show you I'm holding that. Just have it pick that's just grabbing the race. I'm just turning it manually. It's doing fine. And do that on both sides. I don't get any dirt or sand or accumulated junk that may have come out of that. I don't know if it's being easy to see, but let's kind of just do it that way. You can see how if you just grab it, you'll free it up. And then once you free it up, use some fishing reel oil, WD-40, or in this case, this USC Power Lube, or those. They're good, but they're not fishing reel greases. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so there's our setup on that. Then we're pretty much ready to reinstall here. We just need to grab the top. You want to find the two holes where the main points belong. And just let it kind of down, let it down gently, right? And then, in this case, we're just going to have to, there we go. I was waiting for the snap of the bearing. Now, the two screws are what holds this side case on, so let's get those two small screws and get this case buttoned up before we go over to the other side. What I also like to do at this point, before I go crazy connecting the rest of this, I like to make sure that that trip lever is working on the free spool. So once I tighten these two down, I'm going to push down on that free spool, and then I'm going to trigger the release. And the reason I do it there is there's no sense putting the other side plate on and going through all that trouble to find out that you have to take the whole reel apart anyway because something wasn't working right. Okay, so now we've got our spool. Our spool's been cleaned, so we can put a little bit of grease, and I'm going to use Penn Precision Reel Grease for this, but any fishing reel grease will do. We'll put a little bit on the stud that's going to go into the back end of the side plate, put a little bit on the spool shaft. Make sure that that gets seated properly. I'm going to take I just turned that off so that it pulls the spool in. Okay, just making sure it's nice and clean. A little bit on the side plate here, that doesn't hurt to get that off. Just going to line these up now. You'll hear your case snap just like that. These are finger screws, so you can pretty much put them in. There we go. Having a little trouble getting it through the hole in the case. Tighten that up. Probably gonna have the same thing happen here, yes. Yep, we're through the case there. Tightening it up. And you pretty much can hand tighten these. You don't have to go crazy. There is a little slot here if you want to use a screwdriver. And then I'm going to just kind of rotate that so that we can get the cap for the pawl over to one side, because you do want to put a drop of oil into that. And grab a screwdriver that'll help me release that. So I don't see a lot of bait casters. People ask me why I don't do many bait casters. Well, what you're seeing is the stuff that comes into my shop mostly. I mean, in this case, this happened to be part of a purchase that I had. But most of the fishing that we're doing here is on the Atlantic seaboard. And most of that stuff is going to be spinning reels, and it's going to be saltwater conventional reels. I got a note from a fellow up in, I believe it was Wisconsin the other day, saying, geez, why don't you do a lot of Okuma reels? Well, we don't see them as much, and that's kind of what you're limited to here. And of course, I do fishing reel repair. If any of you don't want to take on a task and have a reel that you need repaired or serviced, I do that by mail. And a lot of the times, what you're actually seeing here are folks that have mailed me a reel in. So sometimes you'll see a reel that's not particularly used in our area, but it's in my shop because of the mail order. And if you're interested in that kind of a service, just drop me a line on my email, which is on my business card that follows these videos. Okay, so we just put the star adjuster back on, we put the little tension spring back on, the handle goes on next. The handle nut goes on. I apologize. I've got to remember to keep this in the frame of the camera as opposed to the easy way for me to do this. You want to make sure that these screws go on square, screws and nuts. If they're not on square, you risk stripping one or the other, which is painful to replace. So that's why this is taking time, other than kind of an oddball way for me to hold the reel and try and put a nut on. There we go. And I recommend tightening this by hand as much as you can, just because if you get stuck along the way, you're not stripping anything out there by over forcing something. Then we have the nut and the screw. Nut cap and screw. And the screw's not taking. Let's go find out where the hole is. There we go, now we're lined up. Don't over tighten that. Just that nut cap holder is going to do just as it suggests. It's going to hold that nut. So make sure it's snug, but you don't have to over tighten it for fear that the handle is going to wear off. Boy, look at that sucker. That is a nice ride going on there. If you need to adjust your casting, you got two things. The Magforce is one of them. And right now I think looks like it's fairly off. Yeah. So one of the ways to do this is to that's to complete off the red line. You're lining up with the little arrow point here in terms of the amount of force you want on your magnetics. So that'll help you when you're throwing for the speed of the spool. You also have a spool control here that if you loosen it up will give you that control as well. So there you go. All right, and then we'll just check. This is the switch that's the override for the anti-reverse that I was showing you. And you can backpedal the reel without the anti-reverse if you engage that. So that's it. That's the Daiwa HT Magforce 1500F. It's a nice little bait casting reel. I'm going to guess this one's probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 years old. It's not current line, but boy, this one will last forever. As you saw, it's got nice gearing, it's got nice bearings in it, easy to turn and fish, and this one's going to go out to somebody who can use it, that is going to make the most of it. Whether they choose to go bass fishing or inshore ocean fishing, it's going to stand up to both of those. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you do, please like it. If you want to see more of these, please subscribe. That's what keeps my channel going. If you have questions or comments about anything to do with fishing reel repair or even fishing in general, I try to respond to all of the questions. If I have the reel in my shop and you're stuck on something, I'll try and do a video. If I don't have it, I'll try and coach you along as best I can through email correspondence. And there's never a charge for that. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Please stay safe, stay well, stay home during this pandemic, and just prepare for fishing. We will get through this all. So with that, thank you for watching. This is Dennis at Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.